Liam Hayes was known as the man who never looked back, New York's youngest self-made millionaire CEO. He built his empire on control, discipline, and silence, especially about the one mistake that had shattered him years ago. Love was a distraction, family a liability. At least that's what he told himself while drowning in work and board meetings. But one stormy night, the call came. A little boy was rushed into the ER alone, clutching a broken toy car, and whispering his name. When Liam walked into that hospital room, the child looked up with tear-filled eyes and said a single word that stopped his heart: "Daddy." And beside the boy stood the woman Liam thought he'd lost forever. The city was still asleep when Liam Hayes arrived at his office. The clock struck 5, but the lights of Hayes Enterprises were already burning. That's how people described him: relentless, unstoppable, and heartless when it came to business. Yet, behind that steel reputation was a man running from something he never spoke of. Every success, every deal, every sleepless night was a wall he built to bury one memory. Her 5 years ago, Ava Monroe had walked out of his life, tears glistening on her cheeks, carrying more than just heartbreak. She had carried his child. At least that's what the whispered rumors Liam had silenced before they reached him. He didn't believe them. He didn't want to. It was easier to pretend she'd chosen someone else than to admit he'd pushed her away. Now, work was his only language. His schedule was his shield. That morning, he sat behind his glass desk, eyes fixed on the skyline. His assistant, Clara, entered quietly. "Sir, the new investors from London are rescheduled," Liam interrupted, eyes still on the city. "Push everything to tomorrow." Clara blinked. "Sir, you never postpone meetings." "I said tomorrow." His voice was low, almost tired. Something was off, even he could feel it. For the first time in years, the emptiness in his chest felt heavier. Just then, his phone buzzed. It wasn't a business call. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something instinct, maybe fate, made him answer. "Mr. Hayes." A woman's voice trembled on the line. "This is Mercy General Hospital. We have a young boy here who mentioned your name. He's been in an accident," he said. "You're his father." Liam froze. The world seemed to fall silent. "What?" His voice cracked. "He's 5 years old," the nurse continued softly. "He kept saying, 'Call Daddy. He'll come.' We found your number written on a piece of paper in his pocket." Liam's grip tightened on the phone. His mind raced. He didn't know any child. How could he? He'd buried that part of his life long ago. "Is the boy's mother there?" he asked. Throat dry. Double quotes. "Yes, but she's in shock. We think you should come." The nurse didn't have to say more. Within minutes, Liam was in his car, heart pounding against his ribs. Rain fell in sheets as he drove through the early morning traffic, each drop echoing the chaos inside him. He didn't remember the last time he'd felt fear, but now, he could feel it in every breath. When he reached the hospital, the smell of antiseptic and urgency hit him like a wall. He moved through the corridors, his tailored suit soaked, hair disheveled, a man stripped of his composure. At the ER door, a nurse pointed him to room 12. He walked in, and everything stopped. On the small hospital bed lay a boy with tousled brown hair and a bandage on his forehead. His tiny hand clutched a broken toy car, one Liam recognized instantly. It was the same model he'd once given Ava years ago as a joke, saying, "Our future son will probably love cars." The nurse whispered, "He's stable now. He just kept asking for his dad." Liam's knees almost gave out. Then the boy's eyes opened, gray-blue, clear, and painfully familiar. "Daddy," the boy whispered. Liam couldn't speak. He took a shaky step forward, torn between disbelief and guilt. I think you've mistaken Liam." The voice behind him made his world tilt. He turned slowly. Ava stood there, pale, exhausted, her eyes red from tears. But she was still the same woman whose laughter once made his world feel alive. For a second, neither spoke. The years between them collapsed in silence. "You shouldn't be here," she said finally, her voice trembling. "The nurse called me," he managed. She said. He pointed weakly toward the bed. "Ava, is he?" Her lips quivered. "Yes, he's your son Liam." The words hit harder than any storm. Liam staggered back, his chest tightening. He wanted to deny it, but the truth was right there in the boy's eyes. In the familiar dimple when he smiled faintly in sleep. 5 years of silence. 5 years of pretending he didn't care. All of it came crashing down in that single moment. "I didn't tell you," Ava whispered, tears spilling. "You were already breaking under your own pressure. I didn't want to be another burden." He shook his head, voice barely audible. "Ava, you weren't a burden. I was just too blind to see what mattered." The boy stirred again, calling softly, "Daddy, don't go." Liam took his small hand without thinking. The warmth of that touch tore through his armor. All the walls he'd built came crumbling down. Ava watched quietly, her heart breaking and healing all at once. For the first time in years, Liam Hayes, the man everyone thought had everything, realized what he'd truly lost. And as he stood there in that hospital room, holding the hand of the son he never knew he had, one truth echoed in his heart: he could build 1,000 empires, but none of it would ever be enough to fill the space his family once held. The hospital hallway was quiet except for the rhythmic beeping from the monitors. Liam stood outside the ER room, his palm pressed against the cold wall. Inside, Ava was helping their son, his son sip some water. Every movement, every tender glance she gave the boy, pierced him with guilt. He had spent years mastering control, negotiating billion-dollar deals, commanding boardrooms, yet right now, he couldn't even steady his breathing. Clara called his phone twice. He ignored it. Business could wait. For the first time in his life, it didn't matter. When Ava stepped out, her expression was calm but distant, the kind of calm that comes after breaking too many times. "He's going to be fine," she said softly. "Just a few stitches." Liam nodded, unsure what to say. The words, "I'm sorry," felt too small for 5 lost years. "How long were you planning to keep him from me?" he finally asked, his voice low. Ava's eyes glistened. "You wouldn't have wanted him, Liam. You made that clear the day you chose your company over us." "I didn't choose," she cut him off. "You did. Maybe you don't remember, but I do. You said love makes people weak. You said you couldn't build your empire while being someone's husband, or father." Her words hit harder than any accusation. Liam looked down. "I was wrong," he whispered. "I thought I was protecting us. I thought I needed to become something before I could give you everything." Ava gave a small bitter laugh. "And while you were becoming something, I was raising someone. Alone." He wanted to argue, to defend himself, but one look at her face, tired yet proud, silenced him. "Does he know?" he asked after a long pause. Ava hesitated. "Not the full story. I told him his father was busy helping people." Liam's throat tightened. "Helping people?" She nodded faintly. "It was easier than telling him you walked away." For a long time, neither spoke. The weight of the unspoken years hung between them. Finally, Ava said quietly, "You should go. He needs rest." "I'm not leaving," Liam said, firm but gentle. "Not this time." Ava met his eyes, reading the sincerity there, the pain, the regret, the truth. For a moment, she almost believed him. But belief was dangerous. She had learned that the hard way. That night, after Ava and her son Ethan were moved to a private room, Liam sat in the hospital lounge, his elbows resting on his knees. He hadn't told anyone where he was. He didn't care if the world collapsed outside those walls. His mind was stuck on one image: Ethan's hand clutching his dot at 3 a.m. The boy's nurse approached him. "He's asking for you," she said with a gentle smile. When Liam entered the dim room, Ethan was half awake, blinking against the soft light. "Hey, buddy," Liam said softly, sitting by his bed. Ethan tilted his head. "Are you really my daddy?" The question hit him straight in the chest. Liam swallowed. "Yes, I am." Ethan studied him with those gray-blue eyes, so much like Ava's, yet so familiar it hurt. "Mommy said you were busy saving people. Did you save me too?" Liam's voice cracked. "I'm going to, from now on." Ethan smiled sleepily. "Then I'm glad you came." As the boy drifted back to sleep, Liam brushed his hair gently, the way he'd seen Ava do earlier. Every second with him felt like a miracle and a punishment. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the blinds. Ava stood by the window, watching the golden light dance on the floor. Liam brought 2 coffees, one for her, one untouched. "I didn't sleep," he admitted quietly. "Every time I closed my eyes, I kept thinking, what if that nurse never called?" Ava didn't answer. Her gaze was fixed on the sunrise. Finally, she turned to him. "Why now, Liam? Why do you care now?" He took a deep breath. "Because seeing him made me realize what I've been running from. You, him, everything that mattered. You can't just walk back into our lives like nothing happened," she said, her tone sharp. "Ethan has a routine. He has school, friends. He doesn't need confusion." Liam nodded slowly. "Then let me earn it. Let me earn his trust. Yours too." Ava shook her head, tears threatening again. "You can't fix 5 years with promises." "I don't want to fix the past," he said, stepping closer. "I just want a future, if you'll let me try." She looked up at him, the man she'd once loved, the man she'd cried for, The man she'd cried for, the man she swore she'd never forgive. But now, seeing him with Ethan, seeing the raw pain in his eyes, something in her heart trembled. "You always say things like they're deals," she whispered. "Life isn't a negotiation, Liam." He smiled sadly. "Then consider this one unconditional." For the first time in years, Ava's lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. Ethan stirred on the bed, murmuring, "Mommy, Daddy." Both turned at once. Ava exhaled shakily, and Liam reached for the boy's hand. In that fragile silence, something shifted. The distance between them began to fade. For the first time in 5 years, they stood side by side, and though Ava's heart wasn't ready to forgive, she couldn't deny what her eyes saw. Liam wasn't the same man who let her walk away. He wasn't the cold millionaire anymore. He was just a father who'd finally come home. The next few weeks passed in slow, fragile steps. After Ethan was discharged from the hospital, Ava returned to her small coastal apartment, the one with creaky stairs and a view of the ocean. Liam offered to drive them home, but she refused politely. "We'll be fine," she said. Yet, when Ethan begged, "Can Daddy come too?" she hesitated. For her son's sake, she said yes. The car ride was quiet except for the soft hum of waves along the highway. Ethan hummed a tune from his favorite cartoon, his small fingers tracing shapes on the fogged window. Liam watched him through the rearview mirror, every sound, every smile, a melody he never knew he needed. Ava noticed. And though her heart still held anger, it was softening. When they reached her place, Liam stepped out and carried Ethan, ignoring the faint protest. "I've missed 5 years, he said quietly. "Let me carry him now." Ava didn't reply. She just opened the door. The apartment was small but warm, soft pastels, children's drawings, and the faint scent of vanilla candles. On the fridge hung a crayon drawing. A woman, a boy, and a tall stick figure labeled "Daddy, far away, but coming soon." Liam stared at it for a long time. His throat tightened. "Ethan drew that last year," Ava said softly from behind him. "He used to ask if you'd ever come." I didn't know what to say. Liam turned to her. "I'm here now. I won't disappear again." She crossed her arms, unsure whether to believe him. "Don't make promises you can't keep." "I intend to keep this one," he said, his voice steady. Over the next few days, Liam began showing up, sometimes early in the morning with breakfast, sometimes after work with small gifts for Ethan. He didn't try to buy their forgiveness. He earned it piece, by being there. He helped Ethan build model cars, read bedtime stories, even burnt pancakes once because Ethan wanted to teach Daddy cooking. The laughter that filled that small kitchen felt like something sacred, something both Ava and Liam had long forgotten how to feel. One evening, as the sun melted into the ocean, Liam stood on the balcony while Ava tidied up inside. Ethan had fallen asleep on the couch, clutching his toy car. Ava stepped out, wrapping her shawl around her shoulders. "He likes having you here," she said quietly. Liam turned to her. "And you?" She looked away. "I don't know yet." He nodded, accepting it. "Fair." They stood in silence, listening to the sound of waves and city lights fading into dusk. Then Ava whispered, "You missed so much, Liam. His first steps, his first words, his first day of school. I used to imagine what you'd say if you saw him." Liam's eyes softened. "I would have said, 'I'm proud of both of you.'" Her breath hitched slightly. "It's not easy to forgive you." "I don't expect easy," he said. "Just a chance." Ava's heart trembled, not from weakness, but from remembering what it felt like to be loved by him. The next weekend, Ethan invited Liam to his school's family day. Ava almost said no, afraid of the questions from other parents, but Ethan's excitement melted her hesitation. When they arrived, hand in hand, whispers followed. "Isn't that Liam Hayes, the CEO? He's with her." But Liam didn't care. He knelt beside Ethan during the games, cheering louder than anyone, laughing when he got hit with a foam ball. Ava watched from the sidelines, her eyes glistening. For the first time, she saw not the man who left, but the father who came back. Later, Ethan won a small trophy for most cheerful team player. He ran to Liam, holding it high. "Daddy, look, we did it." Liam scooped him up, his heart overflowing. "We sure did, buddy." Ava took a photo, a simple picture of a man and his son, both smiling like they'd found the world again. That night, when she tucked Ethan into bed, he whispered, "Mommy, can Daddy stay forever?" Her eyes filled. "We'll see, sweetheart." Days turned into weeks. Liam started rearranging his life, cutting down meetings, giving Clara more control. moving out of his penthouse to a quieter place near Ava's neighborhood. He was no longer the man who buried himself in work. He was learning how to live again. One rainy evening, Ava found him sitting by the beach, watching the horizon. She walked over, umbrella in hand. "You'll get sick," she said softly. He looked up, smiling faintly. "Then maybe you'll visit me at the hospital." She rolled her eyes but smiled back. "You're impossible." "I used to be," he said. "Now I just want to be better." She studied him, his eyes, his tone, his sincerity. There was no arrogance, no ego, only the quiet honesty of a man who'd finally learned what mattered. "Do you still love me?" she asked suddenly, surprising even herself. He looked at her for a long moment, rain glistening on his lashes. "I never stopped." Ava exhaled shakily. The tears she'd held for years finally fell. He reached for her hand, slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. "Come home," he whispered. "Not to my world. 2 hours." She nodded through her tears. "One step at a time." Liam smiled. "That's all I ask." Weeks later, as the sun rose over the ocean, Ava stood on the balcony of Liam's newly built seaside home. Ethan was laughing with his father in the yard, chasing bubbles, the sound of their laughter blending with the waves. Ava wrapped her arms around herself, her heart light for the first time in years. Liam looked up and met her gaze. The same gray-blue eyes that once drowned her now promised peace. He mouthed, "Thank you." She mouthed back, "You came back." And in that silent exchange, the past finally let go. The man who once buried his heart in work had found it again in the laughter of a child, the forgiveness of a woman, and the quiet beauty of a second chance.